Invisible Wonders, Photographs of the Hidden World from National Geographic is a fascinating photo book featuring macro photography, allowing us to experience beauty that can't be seen with the naked eye. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and this is Some Books Considered. Today, I'll talk with Anand Varma about his photography and the works of other photographers featured in the book. And we'll take a look at some of the many photos in the book. I requested and was provided with a copy of the book, but this video is not sponsored. Anand Varma has photographed numerous stories for National Geographic magazine, including Mindsuckers, a 2014 cover story about parasites that control the minds of their host, which went on to win the World Press Award for Best Nature Story. In 2022, he established the National Geographic WonderLab to push the boundaries of how we visualize the natural world. He joins us to talk about Invisible Wonders, Photographs of the Hidden World. Anand, welcome to Some Books Considered.
Thanks so much, Dan.
So tell us about the idea for this book. How did that come together?
Sure. Well, I wanted to show people all the ways in which photography can capture things that our eyes can't see. And at the beginning of my career, that was really focused on macro photography. Like, can I photograph minuscule, tiny subjects, blow them up with the macro lens, show us details in that way? But along the way, I've discovered all these other ways that photography can show us hidden details. So that means capturing the movements of a hummingbird that are too fast for us to see, or illuminating the details of a transparent sea creature, or even focusing our attention. You'll notice some of the images towards the back of the book in the focus chapter. These are climbers, or they're people, divers, various details that are not necessarily strictly invisible, but photography focuses our attention on a scene in a way that we would have missed it with our own eyes. So there's many ways in which photography can reveal hidden details, and I tried to capture as many of them as I could in this book.
In this book, you feature the photography of a lot of different people. So tell us about the range of photographs people will find here and the photographers you were able to tap into.
Yeah, that's right. So I wrote all of the chapter introductions, and I introduce each chapter with one of my own images and a story of how that image was made. But then I'm reaching across I think over 100 different photographers who are all bringing their own skill set, experience, and vision to their work. And so there's a really diverse range of images here that go from microscope image of amino acids, which is what's on the cover, to aerial landscapes that show plants in infrared light and show the details through those colors that our eyes can't see, to underwater images and macro photographs. So there's a really wide range of images, but they're all tied together with this theme of science photography and being able to see those things that our eyes miss.
As you point out, these are ways of seeing things that otherwise we would not be able to see. And that makes for a fascinating book for us who are non-scientists, but tell us about the role that this type of photography plays for you in your scientific investigations.
Sure. I mean, my background is as a biologist. I grew up wanting to be a scientist, thinking this is the only career that I get to kind of fulfill my childhood fantasy of exploring the world and learning about nature. And along the way, I worked for a National Geographic photographer one summer, and that really opened my eyes to the power of photography for communicating science. And that's kind of when I merged these two worlds. And so for me, science informs the photography, and it turns out that photography can inform the science as well.
Anand, I'm curious, tell us a little bit more about the process of taking photos at this level. What is the challenge that you face?
Well, the challenge is essentially I don't know what I'm going to find when I turn my camera to these subjects. And that's actually that's both the challenge and the joy of this kind of technical photography. So rather than imagining what I want the image to look like, or seeing a scene and saying, how do I share this with an audience? I'm actually hunting around for kind of hidden mysteries with my camera. I don't know what I'm going to find. I don't know what I'm going to capture. I don't have an idea ahead of time of what it's going to look like. And so I'm kind of using a camera as a tool for exploration. And so I'll take a picture, I'll change the light, and I'm kind of hunting around. Even for a subject, it could be a hummingbird. That's not a microscopic subject. But when you light it in a certain way, it can capture details of its feathers, of its wing, of its tongue that I couldn't see before. And so the challenge is I don't know what I'm photographing ahead of time. And that's what makes it such a wonderful surprise in the end when you see what's actually there.
So, what new appreciation of nature do you hope that readers will take away from this book?
My hope is that readers have a sense of how much hidden mystery there is in the world. I want them to learn about the individual creatures in the book and the individual subjects, but more than that, I want them to come away with a sense of curiosity about the rest of the world. If I can show what hidden mysteries there are in a grain of rice or in a hummingbird's feathers, I want to show that this is just a tiny fraction of how much beautiful, wonderful mystery there is out in the world. And so if I can inspire people to want to look more closely at the world around them, that is my ultimate goal.
Anand, in 2022, you created the National Geographic WonderLab. Tell us about what you do at the lab.
Yeah, WonderLab is my idea that it's a project I started right here in Berkeley, California. That's where I live now. And it combines a photography studio with a biology lab with a classroom. It's basically weaving together science, photography, and education, which are the three passions of my life. And it's a way for me to invent new photography techniques and collaborate with scientists along the way, and then bring in others along to share in the journey. And that can mean high school field trip visits or workshops for early career scientists and photographers who want to learn science photography techniques. And it's really leaning into the synergies between all of these fields.
One of the challenges for me in talking with you about this book is that it's filled with so many wonderful photographs, and words alone can't describe them. So, as that old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, are there some key images that you would point to in the book that would help explain what this book is all about?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, the cover is a good example. I mean, it looks like an abstract painting. You can see these swirls of red and blue and purple colors. It looks like an abstract illustration. When you read the caption, you realize this is actually amino acids photographed with a microscope under polarized light. And it's that kind of light bulb where you think you're seeing one thing, and when you understand the context, you have a completely different appreciation for it. And I think the images of hummingbirds are another good example where, well, these might be familiar creatures. These are not alien beings. Everybody has seen a picture of a hummingbird. But when you see it frozen in time, and you can see it shaking rain droplets off of its body or drinking nectar through an artificial flower, you really see levels of detail you never knew existed. And so that's the core takeaway that I want people to feel is like, wait a minute, I never knew that looked like that. I never knew there was so much beauty hidden there. And so if people can see that hummingbird a different way the next time it shows up in their garden, I think that I will have accomplished my goal.
Anna, do you have a few other favorite photos that you can describe for us so that people will know what to expect in this book?
Sure. One of my favorites, I opened the chapter on time with a photograph of a giant carnivorous bat flying across the page. And I was able to take a long exposure image of this. And what that means is you actually see the shape of the bat's wings as it's flying through the air. And so you can see this movement captured in a single moment. And I think that encapsulates the idea of this book too. Here is a way of visualizing time that our brains can't really perceive, but a photograph can show us this information in a new way.
And as you pointed out, this book is a wonderful way of reminding people that there's so much more beauty in our world than we're aware of, and that in some ways it's even a much larger world than we can imagine, even though we're looking at something very, very small.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating book, Invisible Wonders: Photographs of the Hidden World by Anand Varma. It's published by National Geographic. Anand, thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much, Dan.
If you'd like to purchase Invisible Wonders, I've placed a link for you in the description below. And if you'd like to see more videos about books and their authors on a wide variety of topics, be sure to like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified about future programs. I'm Dan Skinner. Thank you for watching this edition of Some Books Considered.